Join us on Geek Blood, the show you can't ignore. Wayne and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blood forever, we love it so much. Geek Blood, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blood, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geek Blood, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us every week, we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey,
What's going on? Not much, man. Not much. How's the week?
Doing good. Labor Day week, end of summer. You slowing down at work yet, or probably not?
No.
Yeah, probably not. A couple of weeks after Labor Day, usually.
Yeah.
The tourist season starts to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna start off the week this week with a quick fat fuck. The fat fucks are back. Yeah, you know nothing forever but that. The fat fucks are back. Motherfucker, show me the fat fuck. Just one thing I want to talk about. I saw this and I have to talk about it.
Okay.
Jelly beans coming out. KFC flavored. Fried chicken, sweet corn, and gravy. Reminds me a lot of those Jelly Bellies. They used to come out with the Harry Potter ones.
I was going to say the Harry Potter ones, yeah.
Yeah. Did want to mention that. Fucking weird. But yeah, that's all I had for that this week.
Okay.
But it is the beginning of the month, and we do have a show and tell. So many geeky things that we could pull off from the shelf. We've been collecting shit for years, and now we're whipping it out. So it's time to showcase all the money that we wasted well. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It's Geek Web Show and Tell. I'll go first. I bought this book last month. I haven't read it yet. But each page is the Marvel Comics Greatest Comics, 100 comics, 100 essential comics.
Nice.
And each page, I believe it starts in the 1930s, the first Human Torch comic book, and it goes all the way up to modern day. And each page, I'll try to find one real quick here. Like this is the Human Torch from 1939. It'll break down the whole entire origin of the comic and what it meant to the comic world and everything. It's really cool. And of course, 100 comics. There's quite a few in there, quite a few iconic ones, going all the way back to the debut of Iron Man and all that stuff.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, mine's kind of a tie into the movie we're going to talk about. I actually have two.
Oh yeah, I saw you got those.
I got the Question Omnibus, which of course is what we're going to be talking about. Watchmen, which is who Rorschach is based off of.
Yep.
And I fucking love this character. He's probably, I'd say if I were to make a Mount Rushmore of comic characters to read, it would be Batman, Superman, Green Arrow, and The Question. It's like it's ripped straight out of a detective movie. It's great. It feels like a Fincher movie every time you read it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed this comics. If you've never read Question, I highly recommend it. He's fucking awesome. Love it.
Nice. I have not read it, but we are going to be talking about the Watchmen in a little bit, and I know there's deep lore in DC Comics for that.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, let's talk about what we watched this week. There was a finale today.
There was.
We watched the finale of the first season of Dexter Resurrection. First of all, last episode, I think it's a week later, we can talk about it. Batista died.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of him trying to cover up the body and cover up the crime scene. Also going after Prater, who is Peter Dinklage. And that's exactly what happens. And he ends up getting him on his table. Actually, it ends up being in Prater's trophy room.
Yep.
And stabs him right in the heart. Kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Harrison at this in one of the first finales where they don't have a fight and he ends up dying. Dexter actually survives.
Yep.
Escapes on Prater's yacht, reminiscent of when Dexter used to have his boat and go out to Miami Harbor. He goes out to New York Harbor to dispose of the body parts right in front of the Statue of Liberty. I thought that was a great touch. And they find, and then he gets the cops on the trail to find Prater's big, huge trophy room of all the serial killers, and they realize there's some crazy shit going on here.
Yep.
But before he leaves, Prater has file cabinets filled with a bunch of different serial killers, including ones that he brings to his parties, including Eric Stone Street's character, Al.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the file folder for him as well, because we speculated that he's going to have to go after him eventually and finish the job. He has, I believe, 5 or 6 in a duffel bag on this yacht, setting up what is probably going to be season 2 of the show of him going across America, killing serial killers that are left over in this file cabinet that he took with him. Yeah, it was a great finale.
Very good, yes.
Yeah, very, very good show altogether. And yeah, good to see this. It kind of sucks. We talked about it last week, but Origins was canceled. So this is the one and only Dexter on Paramount now, on Showtime. Dexter Original Sin has been canceled. There's a petition going online with like 80,000 signatures, I believe, at the moment, because a lot of people think it was done prematurely after the merger with Skydance and all that shit. So. But we do have Dexter Resurrection. No word on the season 2 yet, but when they did talk about canning Original Sin, they did say that they were very proud of what Resurrection was doing. And to the point where it sounded like they had more faith in the Michael C. Hall series, rather
it seemed
than
like
what they were doing. Yeah,
it seemed like it was like a one or the other type situation.
yeah.
So
So we will hopefully be getting another season. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on this show when we find out for sure. But yeah, another episode. This episode of Alien Earth this week was great. It was a flashback episode, 17 days before the ship crashed on the Earth in the first episode. And it's basically a shot-for-shot remake of the first Alien, but the Ripley character being this black guy that's been kind of like the bad guy throughout the first few episodes. He has become... You kind of get his idea of why he was stealing all the specimens, why he was stealing the alien, and how he knew all about the xenomorphs and all that. Got an idea of what was going on and why he was doing all that. And I wrote in the notes, it's probably better than half of the other Alien content that has been on screen. And that includes all these shitty movies too. But it was just a great, like, paying homage. Of course, there's a lot of, they took, from what I read, they took the blueprints of the first Alien movie of the ship. What was it called? The Nostromo, whatever the hell.
Yeah, something like that.
They took the blueprints of the ship, did a remake the whole entire ship from hull to hull, and did the hallways, did the rooms, everything the same as the first movie. And they just told them to run amok in there with the xenomorph chasing them around, and all the other alien specimens that they captured as well. But yeah, it was probably the best episode of the series so far. This is episode 5, so I believe, I think there's 8 episodes, maybe 10. I can't remember how many episodes.
I think it's 8.
Is there? So yeah, we're a little bit more than halfway now. So yeah, it was really good. I can't wait for to see the next episode on Tuesday. And episode 3 of Peacemaker. This is the one that everybody who's seen the previews before the show came out saw the first 5 episodes. Said, "Yeah, this is a good one. This is good action," and it was. Within the first 1 minute of the show,
Yeah.
You get the biggest spoiler of the series so far, which we speculated last week that the episode was, I can't remember what it was called, something 2 Ricks or something. I can't remember. Thinking, well, there's already Rick Senior. Is there talking about another Rick Senior? No, they were talking, spoiler, about Rick Flag Jr. Joel Kinnaman coming back to reprise his role from the Suicide Squad. He was fucking around with Harcourt before James Gunn's Suicide Squad. That was a flashback at the beginning of the episode started with. He was in bed with Harcourt, cheating on his girlfriend at the time. Harcourt actually mentions to him, "You should really be with June." June is June Moon, who is the Enchantress in the DCEU's Suicide Squad from 2016. So I know you've probably been on the internet today.
Mhm.
How is the internet taking that David Ayer's Suicide Squad is actually part of canon of this show?
It's kind of
Have
a
you
mess.
seen anything?
It's kind of a mess
Yeah, it is. It's
with
kind
certain
of,
fandoms. Yeah.
Even in the
yeah.
podcast, that James Gunn was like, "Yeah, I kind of created a mess, didn't I?"
Yeah.
Because David Ayer's Suicide Squad potentially is canon.
Of
Is
course,
it
this
possible that we'll see Enchantress in this episode.
this brought up
Series.
a lot of stuff. One of which being so obviously everyone knows the release of the Air Cut, which is a direct lead into Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Right.
So how is that going to play out if they ever release it? Yeah, it's kind of a mess. A lot of people think they'll just recast June for the series and for the DCU. But I wonder if, because Rick Flag has that line about if he has interdimensional whatever in his house, then he has to be arrested. What if he finds out that he can technically bring his son back through a different dimension? Will he sweep everything under the rug? I don't know, but this episode was fantastic. Probably the best of the season so far.
Yeah, so far. Peacemaker goes into this new universe and finds out that he's famous, that he's in love with Harcourt. Harcourt's in love with him over there, going around solving all these bombers coming.
Pretty much everything he doesn't have in his own universe.
Yes, cleaning up shop, quote unquote, best dimension ever.
Yep.
And the end of the episode sets up what's going to happen next episode. Argus in the real universe, DCU, know that Chris has gone into this pocket dimension, and they can't find him, and they are going to Chris's house with an army of people, agents, to try to stop not only Chris but Eagly. And you see the Eagle Hunter, played by Michael Rooker, as part of this party. And you also see a returning judo master from the first season, the little short green guy, who when Economos opens up the van and sees him sitting in the van, he's like, "What the fuck?" So that's going to be hilarious. Between that and Titties, you find out that she survived. I fucking love Tim Meadows, by the way.
Yep.
Not in this episode a lot, but the very end of this episode showed up, and it's just great. Yeah, great show, great episode. 2 more episodes of what's been previewed to the press, and then we're in a new territory where there's no spoilers.
Yep.
Nobody knows anything, and it'll be great. And surprisingly, nothing about this leaked. I mean, we talked about it just because we knew that in this universe, it's possible that anybody could have survived this died in the Suicide Squad. Now, all the way back to David Ayer's Suicide Squad, there's so much that could be opened up. Because really, the only scene in that movie that wouldn't be canon is the Ben Affleck scene.
Yep.
And the Flash scene. And those are the 2 that were in that movie. Everything else could be possibly canon, and those characters could come back. Yeah, and we also, the other hanging Chad here is we haven't seen any Creature Commandos. We haven't seen anything so far, and we haven't seen too many Superman characters yet either, besides who's been on screen so far. But there's a lot of possibilities in the last 3 episodes of who could show up, what could debut. We've already speculated it could be Blue Beetle. Speculated probably Superman. Could be Wild Shot in the Dark. It could be a debut of a Batman character of some sort. But we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, great show. I watched the whole entire series of Wednesday, season 2, part 2. Came out on the 3rd on Netflix. It's really good. I love this show. Not a real spoiler, but I will say what they did with Thing in the last episode was fantastic. Kind of a little glimpse of how Thing was created. I don't want to get too much. If anybody wants to watch this show, it's great. It's on Netflix. First 2 parts. First part came out like a month ago. And the 4 episodes, the final 4 episodes came out this week. It was really good. The other show that I watched this week, I was kind of hesitant on it because I love The Office so much, and I did finish all 10 episodes. The Paper, a sort of semi follow up to The Office. The first episode tackles what happened to Dunder Mifflin. They go to the building where Dunder Mifflin was, and it has since been shut down since 2019, right before the pandemic. And Bob Vance Refrigeration, still in the building. The documentary crew goes in, talks to him, and talks about who bought out Dunder Mifflin. Is they still have a parent company? And they do. And their parent company is a toilet paper company who actually owns a newspaper company as well. And that's where the documentary crew end up going in Toledo, Ohio, and following this whole entire cast of characters. And Oscar, a few other people were offered roles from Dunder Mifflin. If you come to this place in Toledo, you'll have a job available, and Oscar is the only one that took it. So Oscar from the original series of The Office is in this show because of that. So I liked how they explained that. Ned, who is the main character played by Donald Gleason, he's been in a lot of stuff. He started off, I remember him in Harry Potter. He was in that Time Machine, About Time, I think it's called. It's really, really good. Or he goes into a closet and he can kind of rewind time in little increments. I thought that was a really good show, or a little movie. The rest of the cast is growing on me. There's one foreign lady that's kind of out of it. The girl in the red in the poster there, but overall, it's a decent show, and it was picked up for a second season this week before the show even aired on Peacock. This is on Peacock if you want to watch it all 10 episodes. Good follow-up to The Office. The last episode leads off with a kind of a cliffhanger or something that should have happened in The Office, where Jim and Pam got together. Something happened in this episode kind of reminiscent of that in the first season, so didn't have to wait 3 seasons for that. But yeah, pretty good show on Peacock if you want to watch that. I know you watched a movie before we get into the big review, the big revisit this week. I know you watched the brand new I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Boy, did I.
I've heard mixed to bad things about it, and I'm pretty sure you have some thoughts as well.
This movie was awful.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
It was fucking terrible. Just nonsensical shit. Like, I don't know, the first one kind of has like a place in its history, is like that's when a lot of the teen stuff was coming out, and the revival of like the teen horror stuff. So the first 2 kind of work. I mean, they don't age very well, but they worked back in 97 and 98 or whenever they came out. But yeah, this movie was just fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it a 0.5 star on Letterboxd.
Wow. The 0.5 stars on Letterboxd for me are Grimaces, so that's pretty close to Grimace for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it, but when I saw your review online, I was like, yeah, I'm not even picking that up. That's a waste of my time this week. I'd rather watch all of Wednesday. So yeah. Well, you came up with this idea a couple months back that we are at a 40-year anniversary of Watchmen. We're going to talk about the comic book later on, but we are going to talk about the movie. The Zack Snyder movie came out in 2009. We're going to talk about the origin of a little bit when the comic book, but we'll give it a little brief synopsis of the comic book origin now. In the 80s, Alan Moore was given the task to write this comic series on characters that DC had just owned, just got the ownership of. Old, like you mentioned, the Question was one of them. There's a few other ones. Instead of taking those characters and making comics of them, he actually took those characters and rewrote them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what ended up becoming the Watchmen, and the story of the Watchmen becoming like an alternate history of the world, kind of like what happens if the Cold War had superheroes. What would happen? It's been in development hell since the 80s, since 1987 to 2005, moving around from 20th Century Fox, Universal Pictures, Revolution Studios, Paramount Pictures. All were hired at one point to produce this film. Director Terry Gilliam from Monty Python deemed the film unfilmable. David Hayter, Darren Aronofsky, Paul Greengrass were all attached at some point. Michael Bay considered it. Tim Burton even showed interest, but ultimately he turned it down. After all of that, in 2005, DC Comics just decided to do it under their parent company of Warner Brothers, and hired on Zack Snyder to do the directing duties. Because of this, Fox had all the rights up to then. Fox sued Warner Brothers for this, for not buying them out in the 90s for the rights they initially had. And they settled it before this film got released. So actually, Fox has a portion of the gross for this movie as well. Creator Dave Gibbons became an advisor on Snyder's film, but Alan Moore refused to have anything attached to his name about this film or pretty much anything that he's done. I saw this quote, I think it was on Wikipedia. I saw it of Alan Moore talking about his work being turned into a comic book movie, saying there are things that we did with Watchmen that could only work in a comic, and we're indeed designed to show off things that other media can't. So in other words, we wrote for a comic book. That's what we wanted our story to be. We didn't think it could be a movie because that's what we specifically wrote it for in the comic book style. And he's had that stance ever since then, still to this day, for all of his work. And the Watchmen is the biggest part of that he's talked shit about the Watchmen and other stuff that's been adapted of his work since then. Directed by Zack Snyder, music by Tyler Bates, who's worked with Zack in everything. Written by David Ayer, X-Men 2, and Alex Tezzi, T-S-E, I don't know how to say his name, who did the Wu-Tang and American Saga, which I know you loved that show when it came out. He was a co-writer of this as well. The cast of this movie. Zack Snyder originally wanted Thomas Jane. He declined to be early on. He declined due to having a busy schedule. This is the time when he was doing all the HBO shows and everything he was doing. But the movie is basically superheroes, like I said, in the Cold War era, and way back. In the first group of superheroes you meet are the Minutemen, set way back in the, I think, 50s and 60s, and that's them right there. Right front and center, leaning down, is the comedian, which we'll talk about more in a minute, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Carla Gugino as Sally Jupiter, Silk Spectre, the first one. Originally, I mean, we're talking all the way back in the 80s when we're talking about who was considered for all of these roles we're going to talk about here, but considered for the role for the first Silk Spectre, Liv Tyler, Jamie Lee Curtis, Anne Margaret, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Winona Ryder, and Sigourney Weaver. And we're talking all the way back to the 80s. So I guess I could see some of these in their prime in the 80s, early 90s, coming in and being considered for this role. There was a documentary. I forgot to watch it. I was going to watch it for today. There's a mockumentary, that came out right around the time Zack's movie came out. Under the Hood, which is the book that the character, the Owl, the first Owl, wrote. And it's a mockumentary about the book and the history of this Minutemen group. And I meant to watch it. I forgot to. I think I sent the link to you, but maybe we'll talk about it before the end of the month. But there is a mockumentary, a whole 40-minute mockumentary about this whole history of this group in the picture here. This group gets disbanded by different means of death and retirement and everything else, which is basically what the movie is about. Jackie Earle Haley's character of Rorschach, you meet him in the first scene of this movie after the comedian dies. He's on the hunt to find out why all of these superheroes have kind of vanished from the world. Talking about some of them being killed, some of them being murdered, some of them just retiring, some of them going into a mental hospital. There's a whole bunch of stuff he talks about. Unlike other principal actors, Haley had read the comics as a kid, as a young adult, and was keen to pursue the role of the Rorschach when he heard that he had become kind of a fan favorite among fans. Eli Snyder, Zack Snyder's son, played a younger Walter Kovacs, who was Rorschach when he was younger. Joining the cast, Patrick Wilson as Daniel, Night Owl 2. Originally, we're talking all the way back to the 80s, Kevin Costner, Christopher Walken, and Richard Gere were all considered for this part. John Cusack was a huge fan of this comic book. Also pitched his name in the hat, but ultimately, when the movie went into production, Patrick Wilson was hired. Love Patrick Wilson. We talk about him all the time. Of course,
P. Willie.
He's been in The Conjuring. Yep. Aquaman. Yeah. Matthew Good as Adrian Osmantius. Spoiler, kind of the villain of this piece.
Mm-hmm.
Snyder originally wanted Jude Law, who was a fan of the character but felt good when he met him. When he saw his audition, felt he was more sleek, more of a German Superman look that fit more of the Ozymandias character, who is kind of a German Superman. Tom Cruise also interested in the part. Zack Snyder revealed that recently. Actually met with him, but Snyder felt he was more interested in playing the role of Rorschach, who had already been cast as Jackie Earle Haley. Malin Ackerman, who's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in that movie with Ben Stiller. I can't remember what it's called. It was a funny comedy movie. But she played Silk Spectre 2, the daughter of the first Silk Spectre. And she's her role originally could have been Hilary Swank, Natalie Portman, Rachel Weisz, Jennifer Connelly, Mila Jovovich, Jessica Alba. All were considered at one point. And the main character of this movie that everybody remembers is a big blue superhero powered, superpowered character of Dr. Manhattan, played by Billy Crudup. At this point, Billy Crudup's biggest role was probably Almost Famous.
Yeah, probably.
He was the lead. He was the lead of the band. Only member of this movie that really has genuine superpowers, making him a god among men. And they definitely proved that in this movie. Role was offered to Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves turned it down. Would have been a weird, different movie for sure. Scenes of note. First of all, the opening of this movie with the comedian.
Yep.
Is a great visual. You already get what this movie is going to be. This is Zack Snyder before everybody knew what Zack Snyder really was all about. The slow-mo, the fighting style, just the way he shoots, and the way Zack Snyder style now. And this is kind of the first glimpse of a lot of.
I think this was the first movie that was marketed with him as a visual mastermind. Okay. I believe, because this was coming off of 300, so I think that was the movie where they started doing all the slow-mo, and then they started saying he was a visual mastermind during the promotion of this movie.
And casting Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the comedian.
Yep.
Every scene that he's in this movie, he steals.
And he turned it down at first.
Yeah, he did.
Because he found out he died in the opening scene.
Yes, he read the script, found out within the first few pages, like, why did you give me this? He's telling his agents, why did you give me this script?
Yeah.
They said, just keep reading. You're throughout. You're in flashbacks throughout. And sure enough, he read it and he loved it and became part of it. My favorite part of this movie, one of my favorite scenes in a lot of movies, is the whole opening credits during where they're playing it with "Times They Are A-Changing," the Bob Dylan song. At the time, I don't think I'd ever heard that song before. I think that may have been the first time I ever heard it. It wasn't really popular for us, and that's the first time I'd ever heard it really in mainstream. I've heard it ever since then. But yeah, it's just telling the history of the Minutemen and what happened to them. By the way, there's the Minutemen, and here's the Watchmen now. The team kind of evolved, and Mr. Manhattan right there, Dr. Manhattan right there, all blue and bright, and of course a god among men. But Yeah, the times they are changing. One of my favorite pieces of music ever put into a movie.
Yeah.
Just the way that he utilized that to show how the times are changing from one superhero group, the Minutemen, turning into the Watchmen. Every scene with Rorschach in this, Rorschach is on the far right there. Rorschach has this mask reminiscent of ink blots, so the ink blot test that changes.
Yeah, the Rorschach test.
The Rorschach test. Rorschach, every scene with Rorschach in this movie is great. Jackie Earle Haley, perfect casting for this. When he goes into the prison and he's there, and all of these villains are there and know his secret identity now, and he tells them, "You think that I was put in here for you, or I was put in here to protect." I can't remember the line. I wish I put it in there. But I can't remember the line. I wish I put it in here. But and then he goes after all the inmates in the cafeteria. It was great.
It's they think I'm locked in here with me, but they're locked. No, they think I'm locked in here with them, but they're really locked in here with me. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. And every scene with Dr. Manhattan in this movie, every scene, even with his gigantic dong, is perfect. Dr. Manhattan has every single superpower rolled into one. He is definitely like the super god, super level human, superhuman superhero of all superheroes. And him and the comedian flashback in Vietnam when he's taking over all the Viet Cong, annihilating the whole entire war. His origin story, when you see Dr. Manhattan's origin story, was great. Pretty much every scene with Dr. Manhattan was great in this movie. And the very, very final fight, when you find out Ozymandias is the bad guy, that whole entire thing and the nuclear war that happened 30 minutes before, or the nuclear bombs that had already gone off and they realized it was too late. I know that was all changed. I know in the comic book it's a giant squid. We'll get into that at the end of the month. But yeah, overall, I think this movie's great. I've loved it since it came out. There is kind of a mixed audience for it just because of how they changed the comic book a lot, and how for example, Ozymandias looks like something out of a 1990s Joel Schumacher Batman movie. Zack Snyder did that purposely. He wanted him to look like Batman and Robin. He wanted him to be the kind of what the character would look like to the world after he's kind of revealed himself as a superhero. And he's also a billionaire, kind of like Batman. He's got millions and billions of dollars. And what would happen if that character became kind of a bad guy? He's super smart too. Budget for this movie, 150 to 180 million. Only made 187 million worldwide, 107 of that in North America. So kind of considered a failure. However, this became a cult movie. And when it came out on DVD, it made some of the most money a DVD had ever made. I believe the total in 2022, up to 2022, was like $125 million in just DVD sales and digital sales alone. It's a great visually stunning movie. I'm not 100% sure if this movie's in 4K yet. Do you know if it is?
I got the 4K, and I was going to talk about that. Okay. So I got the 4K.
It's on iTunes.
And the only version of this that's actually on a 4K disc, because you get the Blu-ray, which has the normal theatrical, and it has the director's cut. The Ultimate Cut is the only version you can watch on the 4K disc. Yes. So I watched the Ultimate Cut. Have you seen the Ultimate Cut, or you just the director's cut?
I watched. The whole reason this came up is 6 months ago. I watched the Ultimate Cut for the first time.
Okay.
You told me to wait until we'll talk about it long term now because of the anniversary.
Jesus Christ. It's long, and it's got these like weird cartoons.
They put the animation of the ship stuff in there that was part of the comic book.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just weird, and it was too drawn out. But I'm glad I finally watched that. Actually, I think I bought the 4K after we were talking about the Ultimate Cut briefly. But the Ultimate Cut's very long. But I do love this movie a lot.
Me too.
It was the first Blu-ray I ever watched, which you let me borrow when I got a Blu-ray player back in whatever that was, 2010 probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. Love it.
Yeah, me too. And we have 3 more.
It's very different. It's very
Yeah, it's
different.
very different. It's very different of other comic book movies at the time.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, we hadn't had an Avengers movie at this point.
Yep.
The DC universe really only had the Dark Knight. Superman
Mhm.
was missing. Smallville was still on television, so there it was kind of like a pivot point for Marvel and everybody else at the time. And this is definitely one of those movies. We talk about the influence of what movies do for movies later on, and this is definitely an influence for what you would see later
Yep.
on in comic book movies. And we have 3 more things we're going to talk about. I don't remember the timeline, but we are going to talk about the series in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about the comic book, The Watchmen, probably the last week. Give me time to read it. And Doomsday Clock, which is a sequel that came out, I believe, 5 years ago. It's basically where Dr. Manhattan goes into the DC universe, and he has a big, huge knockdown, drag out fight with Superman. And what's the other thing? Oh, we're gonna also, believe next week, we're gonna talk about DC Animated came out with a 2-part Watchmen movie that came out a couple years ago, and we are gonna talk about that. We're gonna watch that this week, and we'll talk about that next week. That's what it was. I can remember what we're talking about next week, but yep. Well, until then, let's get into some news. And it's not news. I'm another trailer around it. Got some good trailers this week. First trailer was the trailer for Marvel Zombies, the animated show, coming out on Disney Plus on September 24th. R-rated, rated MA, swearing, blood, Spider-Man chopping off heads of zombies. The reason why this show was made is because all of the legacy characters would have had to be paid millions and millions of dollars, but when they're zombies, they don't talk. So they brought in all of the newer Marvel characters from like Thunderbolts and Shang-Chi and brought them in to be the ones to fight all of the Marvel zombies to save on the budget. 4 episodes all come out on September 24th. We'll talk about that when it comes out. We talked about it last week, but we did get a trailer for 28 years later, The Bone Temple. We got some new pictures as well, new glimpses of what this movie is all about. Haven't seen Cillian Murphy yet, but we did see kind of a continuation of what we saw in the first 28 years later, and we see pretty much all the characters that were introduced in that, and the big alpha zombie coming back too. Looks good. Coming out January 16th. Got a new trailer for Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi's Wuthering Heights. I know this is based off a book set in the olden days. Comes out Valentine's Day 2026. I believe this is the first time I've ever seen Jacob Elordi with a British accent in a movie. I've heard him in interviews and stuff, but first time I've seen it. The guy who did what's the movie that Jacob was in? Saltburn did this movie.
Okay.
This is kind of his follow-up.
I loved Saltburn. You know how much I love that movie. So I'll be watching
I haven't
this.
seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. This trailer was awesome.
Yes.
Monster. We talked about it last week. The Ed Gein story. Pretty much the origin of every horror movie you can think of, from Texas Chainsaw, Silence of
all
the
the
Lambs,
classics.
Psycho. All the classic killing movies. All started with the real guy. This is a story about him. Charlie Hunnam playing him.
Which is funny because he only killed 2 people.
Yep.
That's the funniest thing is like Ed Gein only killed 2 people.
When I saw the side by side of Ed Gein and him, number 1, look identical. Number 2, I've seen that picture of Ed Gein before. It's just such an iconic person. I just didn't know who he was. I've seen that picture before in history books somewhere.
He just looks like a hick.
Yeah, he looks like a hick right out.
He looks like the average person that lived in like Wisconsin in the 1950s, like that you would think of, you know.
And finally, this week came out yesterday because it's up in Canada. They're previewing it, but John Candy, I Like Me, directed by Colin Hanks, produced by Ryan Reynolds. We got a date for coming out on Prime on October 10th, and we saw the first trailer for it. It looks great, and I cannot wait for this. Love documentaries, love John Candy. I just cannot wait for that. So, box office last week, Weapons won first place, 10 million, not huge. End of summer. Jaws 50, second place, 8.1 million. And the new Darren Aronofsky Caught Stealing went for third place for 7.8 million. Amazon ending their Prime shared shipping. I had no idea this was a thing that you could share your shipping to people outside your home.
Oh,
Other than
interesting.
sending packages, well, they're ending it.
Yeah.
Now that you know that, October 1st, you cannot do it.
Huh.
I've sent people packages before, family members and so forth, but I've never like shared it with anybody. So I don't know how that worked, but yeah, they're ending that basically because they want people to pay for Prime. It's all has to do with streaming. They want people to not be sharing their Prime membership anymore. They want individuals to be paying the $14.99 a month if you didn't buy the annual for Amazon Prime. So yeah, Walmart taking action. They're kind of taking on Amazon Prime with a video offering now for video subscription choices. I believe I get my Paramount Plus through through Walmart Plus. I get that for free throughout the year. They're giving you an option for not only Paramount Plus, but you can choose between that or Peacock. And I believe you can switch back and forth every 6 months or something like that. I can't remember what the timeline was. But yeah, I mean, I like Paramount better than Peacock. There is some like The Paper's on Peacock, Ted is on Peacock. There is some good stuff. Exclusives, we talked about it before. Psych, The Office, whatever. So yeah, they kind of have their thing going. AEW announced that their All Out pay-per-view coming out on Saturday, September 20th is going to be the very first exclusive pay-per-view to be airing on HBO Max. Now you're saying, wow, they're taking the WWE model. They're going on there, you're getting pay-per-views on HBO Max. Well, hold the brakes. For $39.99 extra on top of the subscription you're already paying for HBO Max. You're getting a $10 savings to watch an AEW pay-per-view on something you already paid for. I think they missed the mark on this one. If it was a little bit higher of a discount, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. $10 discount for something you already are watching on HBO Max. Kind of a slippery slope of what cable used to be. We always say that streaming is turning into cable. This is the first example of that. And anti-piracy, going after Stream East.
Yeah.
Basically, what this was live sports. You could watch everything from the UFC.
The reason why Stream East was always favored is, well, one, it was the first one for a long time that you could actually use your phone for. A lot of them wouldn't work on your phone, like VIP Box wouldn't work on your phone for the longest time. And second, you could watch up to 4 games on the same screen. So it was very big amongst college kids who were in fantasy leagues.
Okay, I can see that. Well, it went under.
Yeah, well, I noticed. Not that I've ever used it or anything.
I deleted it from my phone this week. I don't think I've ever opened it. But out of Egypt, a whole bunch of stuff. They arrested like 3 or 4 people, confiscated millions of dollars, computers, credit cards, completely closed down. So there's piracy is becoming a war on piracy, and streaming helps that in a way. All the streamers were kind of in the forefront of this as well. I think they teamed up with Amazon and Netflix and everywhere, kind of team up with this coalition that was going after all these bad guys. So.
Speaking of which, so I logged into HBO to watch Peacemaker last night. I got a nice little message on the screen that says, "You may not be using an account that's within your home. Please sign up for your own." And I said, well, yes, I'm obviously not using my own account, and no, I will not sign up for it.
Really?
That's what I said to them.
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Me too. So eventually I will be getting my own HBO, which is fine. Because how much is HBO? It's like $25?
I have no idea. I get it for free with AT&T, so I don't know.
Okay, I think it's something like that. But yeah, I mean, HBO is the one that's worth paying over $20 for me. If I were to have to pay for $20 for a streaming service.
Eventually, they're going to be coming after that, where you get, like when I get HBO for free, they're going to be coming after that, where they're not going to want to be doing that anymore. I think AT&T, because AT&T owned HBO back in the day, that's why it happened. They don't anymore.
Which is why I thought they can't. I thought they would have already canceled it, but the deal must have gone for a certain amount of time.
At the time, they said for life. I remember signing up for it. It said you get HBO for life. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out later on. But yeah. Speaking of HBO, they changed their name of 6 TV channels. HBO 2 becomes HBO Hits. HBO Signature becomes HBO Drama. HBO Zone becomes HBO Movies. More Max becomes Cinemax Hits, and Action Max becomes Cinemax Action. So yeah, they're just changing names. This is if you have cable, you know all about how there are different versions of HBO on there. This is basically what that is. Announced yesterday, Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson have reached an agreement for a fight. What do you think about that? I mean, that's kind of weird that they agreed to that at their
Mike
age.
Tyson weighs
Mike
like
Tyson's,
bro weighs like 100 pounds more than him, or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird. Bad news. We talked about it last week. How excited we are for the movies coming out this year. Mortal Kombat 2 has now been moved. It was supposed to come out October of this year. Now it's coming out next summer, May 15th of 2026. We did get a new poster for it. I believe I have it here. So yeah, live action Street Fighter movie has a date, October 16th of 2026. And Paramount Legendary signed a new 3-year deal for global distribution. Announced all the cast as well, so that's exciting. Julia Garner confirms that she's set to portray Madonna in an upcoming biopic. She looks exactly like Madonna in the early 80s, so I can see that. We got a new look at Oscar Isaac in the Frankenstein movie, the Guillermo del Toro's. Cannot wait for that. Comes out on Netflix, I believe, in a month and a half, 2 months maybe. New look at Christy, starring Sydney Sweeney, about the boxer named Christy. I can't remember her name, but so new looks at her. Scrubs reboot, bringing back pretty much the whole entire cast. The last person that was a holdout was John C. McGinley, who was in Office Space.
I was gonna say one of the Bobs.
One of the Bobs in Office Space. Yeah, coming back as Dr. Cox. Carrie Elways, going to be becoming the president in a very young Frankenstein pilot on FX. Mel Brooks in charge of this. Carrie Elways teaming up with Mel Brooks again. He was of course in Robin Hood Men in Tights. So yeah, exciting. Netflix. No, it wasn't Netflix. It was Paramount announced a Call of Duty movie in the works. Going to be under Paramount Skydance. The only thing I heard about this, other than it becoming a fact, was Spielberg wanted this movie and almost had the movie, but he wanted full creative control and everything for the movie. And Paramount was like, no, that's not happening. So yeah, they ended up going with Paramount Skydance for the movie. So we'll see. Call of Duty, big huge franchise in the game world. We'll see if that translates into the movie world or not. Got some brand new posters for Tron Ares.
Yeah, and why are they using Mr. Beast in the marketing for this movie now? Did you see that today? Okay,
I saw that today. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not for nothing. I mean, Mr. Beast is successful, I suppose, if you want to consider him successful. I say he's successful.
It's a success.
Slightly.
Yes.
He's a success. But he's also, people think he's kind of a douchebag.
He is.
Especially people that you'd want to market this movie to, which is kind of weird. But,
yeah, we'll see. There is a popcorn bucket coming out for Tron as well, a 3D light cycle that does light up. Just regular buckets there, cups and everything coming out for this movie. So, comes out October 10th, so a month from now. So, cannot wait for that. Got a brand new poster. I thought we were beginning the trailer this week, but we didn't. For Wake Up Dead Man, the sequel to Knives Out, comes out at Netflix on December 12th.
Are you
December 26th
going to theaters to see this with me?
If you are, I'll go. Yeah.
These movies are so much better in theater.
Yeah, definitely will go. Also coming out, Avatar, The Way of Water, coming out for 1 week only, coming back to 3D. Also coming out, It, returning to theaters at the end of this month, 9/24, for the preview for the new series, It Welcome to Derry. So it's the time of because they're making a lot of money, just movies are being re-released like crazy right now. They're joining the top of the box office for a reason, because people want to see big movies back on the screen. So Exciting. Um, we also got Welcome to Derry. Don't look at that yet. Wrong picture. Welcome to Derry coming out October 26th on HBO Max. It's going to be premiering, so you cannot wait for that. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be the creator, writer, and executive producer for the Lara Croft movie on, I believe, Amazon. I don't
I
know
think
where
so.
this is airing.
I think it is
But
Amazon.
Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones has joined the cast. She's going to be playing Lara Croft. So, yeah, interesting. That franchise has been resurrected so many times. What's her name from Ex Machina played
Yep.
her recently. Of course,
Alicia
Angelina played her.
Valkander, or whatever her name is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
her, yeah,
they were supposed to
yeah.
do like 2 or 3 movies, I believe, with her, and it didn't make any money, so they didn't.
Yeah, it didn't make. Yeah, yeah. The Muppet Show being rebooted reportedly. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg in charge of that. No official word on that, but there's been some rumblings. And the cast of SNL has been shaken up. This is the first time I've actually know 2 people in the ensemble that have been added this year. Cam Patterson, I mean, he's been on Kill Tony, Viral Comic, and Veronica Slowazowska. I don't know how to say her last name, but she was recently in Tires. She played Shane's girlfriend.
Oh
in
yes,
Tires.
that's why she looks familiar. Okay.
Yep, and of course, yeah. I think this starts the new season starts the end of the month, so there may be some more changes that haven't been announced yet. So we'll have to wait and see. But Saturday Night Live in their 51st season, so we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Joining the cast of Harry Potter, the new series, joining Harry Potter again, Warwick Davis is Professor Flitwick. He was in all the Harry Potter movies, now playing the same exact role in the series. And some other maybe familiar characters you've seen here and there. Some kids joining the cast as well. So yeah. Coming out on PS5, PC, and Xbox, a special edition First Light 007 coming out. And comes with a replica gun with bullets. Doesn't work. So for $300, I don't know if a gun doesn't work. Do you really want it as a display piece? But
I mean, if you have the money, why not? I mean, it's gonna
You're
go
a
on
fan
the
of
shelf
Bond.
anyways. I mean, what's the difference
Yeah.
in buying that and buying a hot toy?
right, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it does come with a game and everything else. So
Yeah, plus you get
let's
the game.
Get into some swag.
Swag. Stuff we all get.
Come on, son. You know that's right.
Got some pop figures to talk about. We got some pop figures from Nosferatu, pop figures from Mortal Kombat, and we got a Rorschach. Speaking of the Watchmen, all announced this week. That was basically it. Not a lot of swag this week. Tom Holland talks about making Spider-Man Brand New Day. Quote, I have been actively sifting through the internet. Well, that's a bad idea. And trying to best understand what it is that the fans want from a Spider-Man movie. And that's been my driving force in these pitch meetings. So in other words, going through all the posts and what we want Venom, we want this, we want that, we want Spider-Man, and we want Mary Jane, we want a whole bunch of stuff. This is what he's looking through, and he's actually going into the producers and fighting for it. So we'll see what shows up in Brand New Day, if that helps or not. But yeah. I saw this fan casting, and I love her in wow, it's blanking me. She played, oh my god, Sandman on Netflix. She played Death. I loved her in that. And she's been rumored to be playing Storm in the MCU, and she actually talked about it. Send that article. I'd love to read it. How intriguing. I loved her as Death in Sandman. So much I can remember the fucking show, but I did love her. She was my favorite part of the show. So yeah, I would it'd be interesting to see who they cast in the new X-Men, if she would be in that running or not. It'd be interesting. Clayface currently filming. Lots of behind the scenes footage of Clayface, of everything going on behind the scenes. We also got a map of Gotham. In the map of Gotham, on the bottom, they mention a whole bunch of landmarks that are familiar into the Gotham universe, including Wayne Manor, including Gotham Botanical Gardens, a whole bunch of stuff related to characters and villains, and of course Batman of Gotham City. So, and we also get some first glimpse spy shots of what the Clayface character looks like, all bloody and bandaged up. They were trying to protect it as much as they could from people seeing it with a photo lens, but it just caught everybody saw it. And finally, in news, James Gunn announced that the next Superman movie is Man of Tomorrow, coming out June 9th of 2027. Less than 2 years, going into production very, very soon. That picture on the left is the one that James Gunn shared, and David Cornsweet and Nicholas Hoult both shared the pictures on the right. Done by Jim Lee, did the one on the left that James Gunn shared, and I can't remember the two artists that did the one on the right.
George Jimenez, he's been drawing Batman for a couple of years now, but he's the artist on the new Batman run, and I got that yesterday, and the book is really good so far.
Nice.
Do recommend picking that up.
Okay. And finally, underneath his post, Aaron Pierre said, "Yes, indeed." And this was reposted on Isabel Merced's "See You Soon" repost of James Gunn's post. Speculating that Aaron Pierre is part of the movie. Speculating that, of course, Hawkgirl's coming back. The whole entire cast is coming back. No official word on any of this, but speculation, internet abound, and internet sleuths abound.
It's running amok.
Figure everybody's coming back for this, and then some. So, also rumors that it's going to be a team up with the pictures, a team up between Superman and Lex Luthor. So, interesting. Hopefully, going against Brainiac. We've speculated that for years, since we were born. Pretty much, there's always been rumors of Brainiac. So. That's it for the show this week. Next week, Apple has their conference on Tuesday. I'll talk about all the new phone upgrades. If you're ready for an upgrade for Apple, I am. So we'll talk about if it's worth it doing now or wait till next year when the Apple folding phone comes out. Alien Earth episode 6 comes out. Peacemaker episode 4. A documentary comes out on Netflix next week called AKA Charlie Sheen. Lots of promotion going on right now with that, so we'll talk about that. In the movies next week, Spinal Tap 2 comes out, but The Long Walk comes out. I don't know if you're going to end up seeing that or not, but we may talk about that. And we're going to talk about the Watchmen animated films, 2 parts. They're on HBO Max if anybody wants to watch along, talk about it with us. More, and then I haven't seen them, but I believe they're closer to what the comic books were. So yeah, they were done by DC Animation. So thanks everybody, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds, rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest scoop and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain.